I think we're live. If you could let me know if you could hear me in the chat, that would be great. Welcome, everyone. It's Career Happy Hour. I'm Andrew Beach, Executive Career Coach. I am a teacher of self-education. I help professionals like you communicate your value to find great opportunities faster, whether you're working or not. That's through a process of professional branding, market planning, and effective networking. It's a 3 steps to career success process. And if you want to learn more of that, certainly you can visit my profile and schedule time in my calendar. And that should be in the description. What is today? Today is Career Happy Hour, 3 p.m. Pacific time every Friday. Let me make sure the chat works. Welcome. We'll see if that goes through on your side. Good. There we go. Chat's activated. We're live on Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, and of course, LinkedIn. That's the home base. So whether you're joining us on any one of those channels, what we'd really advocate you do is place your LinkedIn profile in the chat. That's your professional network site. So that's what we use as part of this community to actually get people engaged in the networking by putting your LinkedIn profile in that chat. What you're signaling to anyone that comes here during the session or even afterwards is that you're open to networking, and you'll make yourself available to other members of this community to help facilitate that. Anything we can do as a community to lubricate, somehow facilitate, or put less friction into the networking process, the better. That's what we're here to do. So if you do have a LinkedIn profile, please put that in the chat. I'd also encourage you, this is something that I do for free to answer questions. And sharing this out and getting more people involved is a good idea. So whatever social network you're joining on, whether that's LinkedIn or YouTube or what have you, wherever your primary social networks are, if you could share this broadcast out right now, just take a minute and click the share button below the video wherever you are and share it out to your networks. That would be greatly appreciated. That said, if you have any questions about career, about networking or interviewing or resumes or how to find jobs, anything related to your career process, maybe you're looking for a promotion inside your company and you're really finding it hard to stand out from others. Maybe you feel like you're inhibited in some way. And if that's the case, I'm happy to provide you some support, answer your questions, put those questions in the chat. If you don't want your questions to be seen by everybody, and I recognize that that's something that could happen, is that, hey, you put your questions out here, somebody sees that and they call you out on it. And so if that's you, we do have a private green room here in the live stream, and I will get the link to that and stick it in the chat. Let's see. Oh, I got to go over to notifications. Bear with me. I'm getting into the stream now on the LinkedIn side of things. And I will grab the little linky link here. And I will drop that in the chat. Join me live now for career coaching or confidential questions in the green room. There we go. Okay, so you can join me live. You'll activate your webcam. You and I will have an interaction together, and I can answer more hands-on any specific questions that you might have on any of these topics. I'm open to talking about anything. So if you have a question about what it's like to live in Portland, is it really as bad as they say? And no, it's not. It is a challenging time that I think we all live in, and making contributions to our communities is a way to give back. And interestingly enough, volunteering is a great way to network, giving back to your communities in some capacity, whether that's through a food bank or a Salvation Army ringing a bell during the holidays, Habitat for Humanity. It doesn't really matter. Follow your passion. So if you had a spouse or something that had cancer, then there's, certainly a lot of Cancer Society options out there. It's a great place, honestly, to go and network and also serve people in need. So I think that's a win-win in a lot of ways. It's a win-win. So yeah, go ahead. And if you have any questions, please put those in the chat. It makes this session a lot more interesting if you can share out some questions. Therefore, it's not just me droning on about miscellaneous things on my mind every week. I can actually do some actionable support based on what you need, because we're coming, the interesting thing, at least in the States, I don't know how many of you are outside the States, but we just came off a holiday week. And so this was a short week. Many people had Monday off, and some people may have taken the week before and the week after the holiday off. And, my suspicion is next week things will pick up a little bit, unless people took next week off. And then I also heard some companies are giving their employees Fridays off as kind of a decompressed day over the summer. So what does that signal? I mean, we need to pay attention to what's happening in the marketplace at any one time. And right now, that means that people may be taking vacations right now, but that doesn't mean they're not accessible. It might be a staycation. They may not be able to travel, and they might decide to take their sabbatical time or their vacation to do work around the house, or to start a business, or to help a friend in need, that sort of thing. Hi, Lisa. Good to see you. Thank you for putting your LinkedIn profile in the chat. For those who are just maybe joining, putting your LinkedIn profile in the chat signals that you are open to networking with anybody that decides to reach out to you. Good to see you, Miles. Bob, good to see you as well. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm happy to answer. It's kind of lonely in here if it's just me talking. I'm sure you guys like listening. Otherwise, you wouldn't show up every week. But it makes it a lot easier if you provide some questions, some content, something for me to go on, or, click the link and come on. Wherever you're joining from, there is a link in the description that would allow you to come on live and get some support. Or if you go in there, it's a private chat room on the back end here, and you can drop questions in there and say, hey, I want this question answered anonymously. And then I will be happy to answer your question anonymously. Otherwise, we're forced to read you the news, and that's not always as fun to take in, if you know what I mean. So I'm just trying to get over here to the LinkedIn page. And if you want, we can share the screen and walk through some news. And if something pops into your mind in terms of a question, then that would be great. Let me share my screen. Sharing my screen now. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, thanks for that. Looks like we have somebody in the know there, Miles. Thank you. I appreciate that. It looks like for those who might be interested, Nike provide all Fridays off for the entire month of July and the last full week of August. So it sounds like they beat their numbers. And sometimes when you beat your numbers, you give your people a benefit. And so that's certainly nice to see. Nice to see. Thank you for contributing that. Hi, Zai. Good to see you. Good. So let's go ahead and let's talk about the news, shall we? Hello, Leif. Good to see you. Good. So I'm just looking through some of the news items here. Jim's wants you back. So let's look. The thing that's interesting is how many people maybe initially. I know it was true for me initially. And that is that when this thing first started, I wasn't working out, doing all those kind of things. It wasn't until, maybe 6 or 9 months into it that I was like, can't go to a gym, feel kind of constrained. You start doing things at that point, right? You take matters into your own hands and provide yourself your own gym in the house, or walking in the neighborhood, taking the dog out, whatever that looks like. And in this case, it says here, a year after pandemic-induced closures, gyms are competing with each other to get customers back. But they have an added hurdle to jump over: the rise of home workout technology, as gym goers turn to at-home workouts with subscription-based fitness apps like Peloton and Apple Fitness Plus. Health clubs saw revenue drop by more than half, forcing 8 major chains to file for bankruptcy and 17 to close permanently. That's incredible. Well, so in every challenge, there's an opportunity. And it looks like the gyms are now, the ones that survived are the ones that were agile in their execution of an online fitness strategy of some kind. And now they're going back to offering in-person and on-demand services. So that's interesting. Part of this might be individual trainers, right? So that you would bring, or mobile trainers, right? You bring your stuff to their house and you work out at the house. I guess that could work to a certain extent. If you can't go to the gym or there's restrictions on the gym, what else are you going to do? Anyhow, thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Lisa, for sharing that out to your connections. Appreciate that. So let's see what this revenue drop says here, this story. Well, I thought it was going to take me to a story. There it is. U.S. fitness industry revenues dropped 58%. Sorry about that. Just wanted to see, who was it filing bankruptcy? Major gyms. They don't list. Okay. Gold's. Okay. Here you go. So here's the thing, where there's challenge, there's opportunity. So if you're the type that can do turnarounds, right? As a person, when you're paying attention to the news, you can say, hey, does that fit my specialization? Do I have expertise in this space to offer value? And if I had maybe health and fitness background and I was a turnaround specialist, I might take 2 or 3 of these 24-hour fitness Gold's Gym. You take your pick and merge them together. And now I have I can come out of bankruptcy or whatever or liquidate. On the flip side, there might be some secondhand, you could open a company, I guess, selling secondhand fitness equipment. So let's see. Looks like we have a contribution here from Tracy. Thank you, Tracy. She says, Andrew, LinkedIn came out with their top 5 soft skills. Yes, they do that every year. And so every year it pays, it's more often than not, it barely changes, right? The capacity for persuasion, collaboration, communication, right? These different soft skills is certainly something to incorporate in your resume. Yeah, absolutely. I would take that a step further and make sure you see which ones are most important in the job description and maybe even for that company, so that you're not making it a fits-all resume. So good, yeah. So if you have a link to that, Tracy, that article, I would certainly share that out. Looks like this is kind of small, so if you can't read that, I'll make it a little bigger. So it looks like it was Gold's Gym. So the 24-hour fitness was pretty big in our area. I don't recognize some of these others, but maybe your geography is different. Let's see, filed for bankruptcy. Yeah, 42 locations. Yeah, more than 1 million industry employees lost their jobs. That's rough. What are you going to do? I mean, a lot of these people, I think, went online. That's why many personal trainers, I think, are coming up with their own kind of online programs, right? Their online training, maybe doing things on Facebook Live or YouTube Live, that sort of thing. And having a side hustle outside of the gym that they work for. Because that's kind of a challenge. So that's interesting. So Jim's going through transformation. Thank you for sharing that link, Tracy. For those who can see it, it's in the chat there. Let's see what else is in the news. Officials and Florida condo rescue, 2 pizza rule. 2 pizza rule. I think that's an Amazon thing, isn't it? Let's see. An Amazon founder, Jeff Bezos, exits the company. Leadership focus is turning to one of the rules he instituted in the early days of the company. Teams and meetings should be small enough that everyone in attendance can be fed with 2 pizzas. The goal of the 2 pizza rule is to ensure groups can achieve common goals without wasting time. So it's not so much the rule, it's the culture or the objective. And the objective is achieve common goals, don't waste time. I can't tell you how many meetings I show up to that are so passive and way too long, and something that, we see this a lot that could have been an email. I think that's another news article here, but I don't know why that's news. It's something that's been happening forever, as far as I can remember. But no, it's on LinkedIn. Post that too many cooks in the kitchen can be counterproductive. Yeah, I mean, that's just common sense. Why can't we fill millions of jobs? Well, there's lots of reasons. I think the first one is, to think that any of these macroeconomic issues don't impact the talent acquisition function, I think is foolish. It's my belief that just as other professions are stretched thin, whether that's a server or hospitality or any of those other things, they had attrition in the talent acquisition function. I mean, if you're laying off a whole bunch of people or doing furloughs, why do you need people to hire? You wouldn't need as many people to hire, would you? And staffing back up the talent acquisition function takes time. And, they're playing catch up. That means that, a recruiter that might have been handling 20 or 30 requisitions might be handling 50 or 60. And they can't get people onboarded fast enough. And so that allows them to lose out on quality candidates, and the process just takes longer. It's just going to take longer. If I can eat half a pizza on my own, does that mean I'm more productive in meetings than others? Oh, Bob, that's great. I like that. No, it doesn't. It just means you're not doing any talking. You're doing all the eating. So, but you're being productive. That's for sure. If the KPI was pieces eaten, then certainly you would be tops. There's no doubt that you would be tops. Yes, thank you for sharing that, Tracy, those links. So let's see what it says here on this article. Let me make that bigger for you. Hopefully that's a little bit better. The U.S. employment rate isn't the only thing. I think I made the wrong screen bigger. There we go. This is the only thing on the rise. Job openings are at a record high, and wages in retail and industries are rising rapidly. So what's causing this mismatch between available positions and unemployed job seekers? The Wall Street Journal. I like how they keep quoting the Wall Street Journal here. Makes me wonder who owns the Wall Street Journal that they're getting so many plugs on LinkedIn. Anyway, it says many workers moved during the pandemic to locations with few job openings. That's interesting. And workers' views around remote work and commuting have changed. Well, so should then organizations. Over 50% of U.S. hospitality workers reportedly won't go back to their old jobs, according to Job List's survey. Pay incentives would not. Let me repeat that. Pay incentives would not change their decision. Restaurant workers are quitting as restaurants reopen. These jobs are very difficult. And if restaurants are short-staffed, the jobs are worse and they're harder, says one job labor report. Yeah, because you're serving, there's pent-up demand. All these people rush into the restaurants and you're not staffed up to handle it. That's why, restaurant leadership has made a mistake in allowing 100% occupancy right off the bat without having the staff to support it. It's just stupid. Sorry. I don't like to use strong words like stupid, but it's not smart to open up when you haven't staffed for that kind of load. So if you have any questions, of course, put it in the chat. Looks like John has a contribution. Thank you, John. Welcome. Good to see you. Let's see what John has to contribute here. Just read the article that stated there is a skills deficit. There's always been a skills deficit. That's the whole job, I think, of talent management. Talent management, talent acquisition, people in the HR business partner role, their job is to identify the skills deficit and find people to fill it. That's the whole point. Number one being hospitality and management. Hospitality management. Yes, absolutely. I mean, that's, I can't think of a job less attractive to myself. Not because I don't like management or hospitality, but I start to imagine something. I start to imagine arriving early, staying late, working weekends, and it's just not something I think that's really attractive. And then now I'm in a position where I have to hire people in a high turnover environment. I can see why people have approach avoidance to that particular domain, right? That particular position. So good. But that's the challenge in hospitality. Those folks in hospitality, they can go elsewhere, and work a Monday through Friday. Maybe that's part of it. Work-life balance is so, people are now leaning into their values based on what's happened. That's why people are going to transition out of their jobs, or why they're calling about the great resignation or whatever it is. There was some article last week, or for several weeks we've been talking about this. But my perception is that it's not that companies aren't hiring. It's that companies don't have enough people doing the hiring to make it agile and efficient, effective, quick. So it's going to take longer. And, when you apply to jobs and people used to get back to you maybe within a couple of days, it's going to be a couple of weeks. It might be a couple of months. And that means we need to have lots of irons in the fire and maybe even up our networking, because we may be in a position to help somebody that's suffering from these circumstances, and maybe come on board as a contractor at first. Let's see, why office returns spark anxiety. Well, certainly any change is going to spark anxiety, folks. This is not news. Not news. So let's see. By Gianna. Gianna, thank you. After more than a year of remote work, the idea of returning to the office might be stirring up social anxiety. I don't think so. I think most of the people I talk to are thirsty and ready. They're thirsty and ready to go back to work. What they're not thirsty for is to give up the comfort zone of their house, right? So some people are looking at this and saying, I don't have social anxiety, but I do have anxiety over, having an inflexible work schedule. I like that part of it. Maybe that's something to define with your leadership when you transition back to work. As somebody transitioning back to work, shouldn't we have these conversations? How do you feel about it? What kind of schedule works for you? Do you want to come in the afternoons for an hour or two, or do you want to come in the mornings? Do you want to try 1 or 2 days a week and then amp that up? I mean, what works for you? I want to do something that works for you and for us. Hey, I'm ready to come back full time today, right? Great. Then you just bring them in. And so we need to talk with our people. We need to have these conversations, and we need to let them know that we care enough to ask. So let's see. We've become used to only seeing our colleagues on screens and are unsure what our future office lives hold in the store. I can tell you what they hold in store: more community, better texture, more intimacy. These are all good things. Now, I'm not saying that I'm saying that in a positive way. Is that there is something lost when we're talking about a two-dimensional video screen. I mean, you and I right now are on video screen, and there's only so much value you can get out of this interaction. There's so much more value in the non-verbals when you're in the same room with somebody. There's so much more value when you have a chance to have sidebar conversations or, small talk. When a meeting starts and ends on Zoom or a video conference, it starts and ends. There's none of that, serendipitous conversations over the water cooler that lead to better relationships, better work, and more productivity. And it's not so much that leaders don't know that. It's just that the ones that are most insecure in this process are the leaders. And anyway, because they want to see their people and know they're doing the work, that they're not slacking off. Anyhow, that can be resolved too, but that's another discussion. Harvard Business Review says there are a few reasons why transitioning back to the office might feel difficult. Transitions naturally spike our anxiety. Yes, of course. Just like homeschooling and the pandemic, setting up a home office, setting up homeschooling spaces. I mean, that was a lot of, my suspicion is the route back to work is going to be easier than the route away from work. That's just my guess. Whenever you've avoided something, you'll feel anxious about returning to it. Okay. Social relationships and boundaries have changed. I don't know if they've changed as much as people think. I think here's what has changed, and I've seen this a lot, is that a lot of people gave up their residence for another one. That means, hey, if I said I was working for a company here in Portland, and all of a sudden I sell my house and I live with my parents in Texas, then but I didn't really tell anybody, get it arranged with my leader, or, we didn't see any time horizon for coming back to the office. Now I have to have I have anxiety because I need to have an uncomfortable conversation with my leader that I'm not in the state anymore, and I don't intend to come back. And will you allow me to work from Texas? So it's something to ponder and think about. So what tips do you have for easing transition? Let's share some of those on this article. Feeling anxious. Okay, looks like we have a bunch of chats here. Let me go back and take a peek at these. Bob has a rather long one. Let's see. Impact of technology. So Tracy had one here. Thank you, Tracy. I believe it's also impactful to technology. I believe it's known as the digital divide, the technical skills needed and the number of people who have access and knowledge to fill the technical roles. Yeah, I mean, I think there's always going to be a high demand, low supply profession. And I don't know that I call that a skills gap. I would certainly call that a labor gap, right? We don't have enough qualified people. And so I don't think that has anything to do with skill, because I believe people may have the skill. It stands in maybe the challenge that a lot of talent acquisition and talent management folks have, that they've created a template of what digital is, or what technical skills of this caliber are. And they've cataloged it so narrowly that they haven't created, how would you say it, career pathways for people to get to the right place for themselves. And they've so narrowly focused and specialized the roles that there isn't any capacity for growth or room to expand. And now they're being forced to do that, which is a good thing. We'll now be in a position where we have to adjust. Okay, let's see what Bob has to say. There's a lot here. I don't think it'll all fit on the screen, so I'll go ahead and hide it and read it from the side here. Some industries like hospitality had a business model dependent on much of its labor being paid below a living wage with little or no benefits. Well, yeah, I mean, it's a minimum wage job, that's for sure. And depending on your geography and your living arrangements, it may not be livable. Let's see, COVID caused a reset for these industries. So all of the folks working in less than subsistence jobs out of a momentum are hesitant to come back to the same model that didn't really work before, especially when there are other opportunities that pay more under better conditions. If they're qualified and can find better, then they should. They shouldn't stay in those places. And I think you're right. It has caused a reset, and the companies haven't caught up yet. That's the challenge. The companies haven't caught up, that these individuals just aren't coming back. They're going to go do something else. And their skills are valuable in other industries, that is for sure. Let's see. Many opportunities I'm seeing right now are not only calling for soft skills, but technical skills. Yes. Well, and the thing is, technical skills are important. Being able to demonstrate those is important. But even more important is these organizations, if they can't find it, has to onboard somebody and have a career training pathway to get them to that space. And so those are the people that I think are going to be successful, that have agility in learning and development capabilities that they can sell people on during the interview process, and people that actually do recruiting, not just talent acquisition. There's a difference there. Talent acquisition, to me, in many ways, is a misnomer. It should be, I like the idea of recruiting because you're convincing people, you're promoting your company, you're doing all these things. Talent acquisition to me sounds more, in terminology, I know that this can differ, sounds to me more like a transaction. I'm just looking to transact. I just need a head. I need a body. And that's not very endearing to someone coming to your organization. How you treat them, whether you call it talent acquisition or recruitment or whatever, is less important. How you treat a candidate is important. Good. Let's see. Question here from John. Thank you. Do you think this time in the workforce would be an opportune time to pivot into a career field? I'm not sure what that means. I'm not up on my my French, if that's French. But I think any time is a good time to evaluate. Any time is a good time to reevaluate. Any time is a good time to sharpen your saw. So I'm going to say that the key skill, in professionally speaking, is the capacity to learn. Absolutely, the capacity of learning, and the ability to be agile and always looking forward. So the agility is not just for the technology, it's for the individual. And unless I'm agile and doing a sprint in this area or what have you, you could use those same techniques and ideas, those thoughts on yourself, for sure. Good. Let's see what Tracy has to offer back. There's so much free or affordable training. Yeah, I mean, LinkedIn Learning's got a ton. What is Coursera? I think they have a lot of good stuff, and most of that's free, I believe. And so, yeah, there's, again, the challenge that a lot of candidates that I coach have is that they don't think about, or even, let me stop sharing that screen. It's probably getting rather annoying. Is they don't consider that the reason they're going to get the training or to change careers or to go this direction is because they're not having success in their job search. And so they're blaming that on their deficiency. And that's not true. You're not deficient. You might be using ineffective methods to find work. And if that's the case, then you reap what you sow. And that is, hey, if I don't use effective means, I'm not going to get effective results. And take a look at your numbers. By numbers, I mean, what are your conversions to interviews? This is kind of me on the analytical side, right? So if I know I make 10 applications and I get one interview, that's what? 10% conversion, 1 out of 10. So I know every 10, I get one. If I track those numbers consistently over time, that should play out for me. If I network with 3 people and get one, now I know it's what, 33%. So I know which one of those is more effective, 33 or 10. Well, it's 33. So how much time should I spend in each activity? 33% networking, 10% in doing online applications, just application resume. Therefore, and I talk about this a lot. Anyway, it may start sounding like a broken record, but it's worthy of repeating. Is unless we're tracking our conversions, we don't know which method is providing us the best results. And conversions would be, look at all the interviews you've had, say in the last month, 3 months, 6 months, however long you've been looking. And where did those originate from? Did it just originate from a cold outreach on LinkedIn? And maybe that was an anomaly. Did it originate from a friend that you bumped into at Costco shopping on a Saturday afternoon? I don't know. I start thinking about some of these things and trace back. I'm not talking about, by the way, any initial phone screener with HR or recruiter or what have you. I'm talking about a legitimate, bona fide interview with a hiring team, either a peer or a hiring manager. So good. What else do we have here? Thank you, Tracy, for all your contributions today. The other thing when pivoting careers, having a willingness to accept entry-level roles in a new environment and never stop learning mindset. So I'll agree with the second part of that. Never stop learning mindset. In fact, that should be why they hire you for that job, is a never stop learning mindset. Now, that doesn't mean you have to go entry level. I mean, many of us have no need to go entry level, even if we're making a career pivot. We may have something of value to that company that they don't currently have. Why would I go back to the beginning? Our objective is to find out how. How can I leverage my strengths in a role at a company where I'm making a career change and earn the similar amount of money, right? So, part of this is saying, hey, I'm going to take an entry-level role for self-development. Okay, that's a different motivation. Some people take the entry-level role because they need employment. They just need the job. And I've been there too, right? Having the survival job or taking roles that were beneath you just because you wanted an income. I get it. I understand that motivation. Been there, done that, taken survival jobs before. So it's not uncommon. But when I came to LHH, which is a company I'm affiliated with, of course, everything I share here, by the way, is my own perspective. It's not an indicator or representative of any company I'm affiliated with. But when you look at my arrival in the company, I did not have any documented work experience in the industry. And so what I did have was I had a lot of volunteer experience, and I had good relationships with people that referred me in. So I had credibility from my network. So something to consider here is if I'm pivoting careers and people know, like, and trust me, they may hire me in the role that I want, at the pay I want, doing the things that I want, rather than starting to have a willingness to accept. To me, that sounds like you're beneath your capabilities. And that doesn't honor anybody, doesn't honor the company, doesn't honor you doesn't honor the world or the universe. So I would, I think that's a challenge that you have to deal with for sure. Good. Oh, more contributions. Tracy, you should come every week. Maybe next week you can lead this thing for me. Let's see. I was thinking about the example of moving from hospitality to tech. What I need to look at there is which of my skills in hospitality are valuable, high value, low supply, just like we talked about in the skills gap. I need to find out how I fit in that industry. And so one thing that tech maybe doesn't have is bedside manner. So if I come from hospitality, I'm going to tech. What about customer success management? I can learn the tech. That's a diminished or a minor portion of customer success. What might be a bigger portion is managing all the people in the deployment team, making sure the client is kept in touch with, communications, right? That would be a very easy transition for someone in hospitality to go into customer success, deployment, long-term relationship building. A lot of tech companies are going with that kind of model where they have a very high touch, hands-on approach with their customers, that once they get a technology implemented, they stay engaged. Yes, here's the thing, Tracy, hello. You can learn anything you set your mind to. You can learn anything you set your mind to. So if I wanted to go be a medical doctor, guess what? If I set my mind to it and I go to school and I get the grades and I pass the tests and get my license, there's nothing to stop me but me. Hopefully, right there. Certainly, I'm getting up there in age, so I don't know if I could make it through the school and come out the other side and have very long to practice medicine, but it would be fun. Something, you can consider. Everything's in bounds. I think some people think they're constrained and they're not. You are not constrained by anything other than your own boundaries, the boundaries you place on yourself. Good. So I didn't see any other interesting articles here. It talks about workplace relationships. I'm not gonna go through that one. Oh, I did see an article here on MSN that I thought was hilarious. I'll go ahead and share this one too. So I thought this was great. Woman is fired from her job after her boss sees her on TV at an England soccer match. So this gal, a woman who pulled a sickie, as they call it in England, to watch the semifinal win, was sacked. I like those Brits. This is, I think, from the Daily Mail. After her boss saw her on TV. Nina Faruqi, 37, made an excuse to dodge work in Yorkshire after her friend offered her a last-minute ticket to the historic night in Wembley. She said she thought she was unlikely to be granted the day off to attend due to work being short-staffed and deciding to call in sick to catch Wednesday lunchtime train from Leeds to London King's Cross before heading to Wembley. That is excellent. So I think that's happened before. It reminds me of Ferris Bueller's Day Off or something like that. Anyway, but the face of the digital content producer from Ilkley near Bradford was beamed around the world when a TV camera zoomed in on her and her friend celebrating England's equalizing goal. That's funny. So there she is with her friend as they celebrate. I think that's great. That is great. Wow. Good. Well, honestly, I don't know. I don't know that I have anything much else to share, but I just thought that was hilarious. We hear things like that all the time where people call in sick. The surprising thing to me is that organizations have gotten to the point where their people don't feel safe to come to them and ask for time off for something as historic as that. Maybe something that is a once in a lifetime chance. And I think she'll be fine. I think she will be fine. Why? Because she stood up for her values, which were engaging in something that could have been life-changing. Let's see. Question here from Miles. How would you counter an offer? Verbally. I'm always a fan of verbal counteroffers. Why? Because I can have a discussion with somebody without it being in writing, because writing can be misconstrued. So going back and forth on paper or email, that stuff is permanent. Something you say there, if it's misconstrued or not understood or communicated improperly, that lasts forever. So I would count any offer I get, I would establish first, what are my negotiables and what are my non-negotiables? And I always start first with what's not negotiable. Hey, I appreciate this offer. Go through all the nuance and the dance of wanting to come on board and thanking them for the opportunity and looking forward to this. And I want to move forward in this situation. Wanted to discuss the offer with you. Let's schedule time for Thursday at 2:00 or Monday at 3 or whatever. Let's schedule time to do this thing. And then you talk through the non-negotiables. Hey, you said I had these skills in this kind of way to do this kind of work and add value to your organization. And I'm looking forward to coming on board. I have some things I'd like to discuss about the offer. And you just lay it out. It says here that I get 2 weeks vacation. I really need 3. What would it look like if, and so you would ask them, what would it look like if we did 3 weeks vacation? Well, that's stipulated by the union. We can't negotiate that, or that's, nobody has more than 2 weeks paid time off. You can take unpaid time off, but even the president of our company, he only gets 2 weeks vacation. It's just hard and fast across the company. I can't negotiate that item, so I got to find something else, right? So then it's, for me, everything comes back to compensation. So I always negotiate. I would always negotiate a number last because, hey, if I agree to a number and I can't negotiate these items, I can't adjust the compensation to account for that. So if you can, negotiate your non-negotiables first and then adjust everything else through compensation. So that's just high level. I don't know your particular situation or what your needs are. You certainly can contact me offline if you need additional support that way. But I don't like to air laundry here on a public network if that makes sense to you. Good. What else? Any other questions out there? Or should we all call in sick? Can we call in sick on Monday? I think that'd be fun. Let's call in sick on Monday. What do you think? I got a cough. And we'll all go down to the river. Maybe the lake. No? Okay. All right, folks. I don't see any other questions here, and nobody's come into the green room to come on live for some live action role play, some LARPing. As relates to career, of course. So I will bow out and thank you for your coming. Share this out with your networks. If there's someone you think that could benefit, share it in a private message if you feel that's more appropriate. You don't want to do it publicly. Just take a link to the presentation itself. I think the URL there is a permanent URL, and you can go ahead and share that in a private message with somebody. All right. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you next Friday for Career Happy Hour, 3 p.m. Pacific time. Stay safe and take care. Bye now.